Hey everybody, ronarray here, and getting close and personal with enemies is a very cool playstyle for RPG, and Path of Exile 2 in particular. I've decided to play melee mode, but warrior always stays as a second option, just because right now melee looks very strong and promising. They also have a full Titan Ascendancy reveal now, which helps with planning a lot. Feel free to check out the timestamp for it. So in this video I want to talk more about both warrior ascendancies and dedicated warrior skills, to tell you more about possible combinations and things that I expect to be just awesome, giant blood included. Check out timestamps for particular nodes, ascendancies or skills as usual, and let's go. So first off, let's start with the skills, and I think that many warrior skills will be useful for other classes too. So let's start with the general overview. If you're just interested in Ascendancies instead, go for the dedicated timestamp. First one is Earthquake, and it is basic but pretty promising still. That basic slam can create a jagged ground effect which slows enemies and erupts after 3 seconds, dealing additional damage. The best course of action to make that strong and viable in the endgame is stacking multiple jagged ground effects together while you are spamming the skill. So to do so, you can combine it with Stampede, for example, which can be used to start the fight, and use jagged ground support together with any other skill such as Totem, for example, or supportive damages skill such as Armour Breaker. It will allow warrior to erupt multiple jagged grounds at the same time, stacking them on top of each other and dealing additional damage. So it should be viable at the early game, and I think it should translate very good to the end game as well. So next skill is Boneshatter, and it's not really looking that good anymore. It should be mostly used to heavy stun enemies that are primed to stun already. Together with enduring stun support, it can also provide endurance charges pretty consistently when you heavy stun your enemies. Impact Shockwave support can also help to use it for AoE clear in some particular situations. Sunder looks like a very strong slam, which has a great damage effectiveness of 237% and 100% increased critical damage bonus, which makes it just amazing for endgame. I'm sure that Sunder will be one of the most viable skills for slam gameplay due to just pure numbers. Going forward, we have an Armour Breaker, and it's a nice supportive skill, which could be used on bosses and raiders just to break armor and improve the damage of your main spammable skill, for example Sunder or Earthquake. However, Boneshatter with Devastate support can also break all armor. So there's some competition between skills, but since we have a lot of slots, it can be a nice idea to just utilize both of those. Ancestral Warrior Totem and Shockwave Totem are totem options, and we again need to choose only one of them, because there's a totem limit of 1. It could be bypassed with Ancestral Bond Keystone, but even with that, it still will be about 2 or maybe 3 totems maximum, it seems. Shockwave Totem can stack well with Earthquake, interacting with jagged ground. One Ancestral Warrior Totem is mostly there to carry dedicated totem builds and look pretty strong, since it can use socketed mace skills. Some builds around it are certainly possible if you prefer the totem playstyle, and I think it's going to be pretty strong early game. Right after, you will be able to take Ancestral Bond and get enough spirit to have at least 2 totems up. Next skill is the Resonating Shield, and that's purely defensive ability with some damage on top. It allows you to block all incoming hits while dealing a little damage, mostly based on armor of your shield. It looks like it's a very good defensive ability, and it could be played a little offensively when you're still dealing damage, when protecting yourself from boss blockable attacks, for example. It also can stack damage based on armor of the shield, leading us to some version of armor stacking in Path of Exile 2. It's hard to say how viable it will be and if Resonating Shield could be used as a main skill. Seismic Cry and Infernal Cry are both Warcries, and since they both consume endurance charges, it seems like we would better choose at least one of them to use consistently. Infernal Cry provides fire damage, so should stack well with hybrid or ignite related builds, while Seismic Cry, on the other hand, is mostly physical oriented. Both Warcries should work better with slower skills and stack especially good with very slow skills with high cooldown such as Hammer of the Gods for a huge DPS increase. And moving to cherry on top, it is Hammer of the Gods. It is probably the strongest skill that was showcased in the whole Path of Exile too. It has crazy 1307% of attack damage, but a huge cooldown of 24 seconds as well. Right now, Hammer of the Gods looks completely amazing, and it's one of the best options to do huge boss damage, especially paired with damage over time effects such as Ignite, if it can apply Ignite without any downsides. Solving cooldown issue is an important part too, so Hammer stacks well with Chronomancer, which is kinda surprising. But generally, I think Hammer of the Gods is good enough to pretty much find place for at least one big hit in most of the melee builds, and I think it's going to be very popular. So let's start with the Titan, the Ascendancy that smashes things. Most of his Ascendancy nodes are simple but very effective, and we already have Titan fully revealed. First one is Warbringer Breaker. It gives 20% chance for skills that use yourself to cause aftershocks. It has simple but pretty strong passives that can improve slam damage and combine well with Thunder, Earthquake or even Hammer of the Gods. So if you use non-totem slams, it's a pretty obvious pick. Next one is Crush and Impact. It just makes all your hits crushing blows. So again, if you're playing self-used slams or any other kind of physical attacks, it's a pretty straightforward and obvious choice. Surprising Strength can give you 40% more damage against heavy stunned enemies, and I think that's probably the most important passive out of all Titan kit. It looks absolutely amazing and very strong right now. It combines greatly with Boneshatter, which can inflict heavy stuns and could buff your damage tremendously. Obvious combo would be using Hammer of the Gods right after enemies heavily stunned for devastating damage. This passive node alone creates an opportunity for stun-oriented builds for Titan, and it looks like a must-have for most of the slams related attacks. Next one is Stone Skin. It doubles your armor from body armor. This one should help with defenses, but it is harder to say how big the effect of armor will be, considering we have different damage types. Next one is Ancestral Empowerment. It gives you an opportunity to improve your slam with Ancestral boost every second. So every second one of your slams will be ancestrally boosted. It can be very good, especially if your slam skills will have a huge attack time, such as Sunder for example, so more of your slams will be empowered that way. We don't know what Ancestral boost does exactly for now, but a lot will depend on the actual buff and the numbers behind it. The ability anyway looks pretty strong and will work great with self-casted slams that have higher attack time. Next one is Colossal Capacity. It adds 20% additional inventory slots, which looks kinda fun, but probably are not really worth the points. But if inventory management annoys you too much, it could be a viable choice for a personal preference. And the last passive here is Mysterious Lineage. It simply provides 20% of life, which is nice but nothing special and nothing to write home about. It still could be an improvement for general tankiness, especially combined together with a Stone Skin. Generally, Titan looks very straightforward, but has a few great defensive passives, together with huge DPS boost against stunned enemies, and a lot of slam bonuses on top of it. It seems like the best Ascendancy for self-cast longer slams, with variety of possible picks. Now let's talk about the Warbringer Ascendancy and how you can yell enemies to death. Answered Call is the first passive here, and it will trigger Ancestral Spirit when you summon a totem. So you will go with Ancestral Bond and will use at least 2 totems and will resummon them pretty often. The uptime of that ability should be good enough. The spirits that will be summoned will attack enemies, but how much damage they will do is currently unknown. The concept itself looks kinda promising because it can improve totem damage and clear at the same time. Next ability is Jade Heritage. It will provide a Jade stack every second, so while you're not using the skill, it is building up. And you will lose stacks when you use it and get hit. You can hold the button at any time to stay as Jade statue and receive significantly less damage. The developers have mentioned that the idea behind the skill is a counterpart to a dodge roll, but instead of dodging you will just stay as a statue and tank heavy hits. It's somewhat similar to Val Arctic Armor from Path of Exile 1 that provided near immunity, but Jade statue should be way more consistent and accessible. Overall, it's a very interesting passive that is forcing you to think when to use it, providing a temporary defensive boost. The next one is Warcolor Below. It explodes corpses of your enemies when you Warcry, dealing 25% of their life as physical damage. And this passive should be just amazing for clear, and improve the speed of farm significantly, because it's basically a free detonate dot that will be used automatically every time when you are Warcrying, so at least every 8 seconds approximately, and can perfectly combine with next passive, Grateful Hole, which will remove your Warcry's cooldown completely, so you will be able to blow up corpses at any moment when you like it. This is currently one of the strongest warrior nodes overall, and it looks like one of the main reasons to even play Warbringer, so I feel like it will be absolutely mandatory in almost all Warcry builds. And the next passive, and the last one here, is Great Wolf Howl. It removes your Warcry cooldown, which stacks pretty well with Warcolor Below, as I already mentioned. It can also make your Warcry bonuses more consistent, but the downside will be more buttons to push and piano-like gameplay. So if you're not really afraid of it, this combo will be a very good pick. Warbringer now looks like mostly Warcry's oriented Ascendancy with a little part of totems on top, but Jade Heritage and Warcolor Below make it a very strong pick, and it will be perfectly viable, especially if you are alright with Warcry spam. Titan looks pretty tanky, but heavy hitting and opens a lot of possibilities for stun-oriented dedicated builds. It is also a great pick for slam-oriented builds as well, and it will be a very decent choice for almost all physical attacks in Path of Exile 2, mostly because of the bonuses such as crushing blows. Warbringer, on the other hand, is more like Warcry's oriented Ascendancy that should be more sophisticated and harder to play, but could have a better clear, even if I think that single target damage will go to the Titan. But Warbringer will probably have more build variety and will have better possibilities to use Warcries for different combinations. Both of them look perfectly viable, and I think Warrior is going to be a very strong pick for Path of Exile 2 endgame. Thank you very much for watching, and that's been my Warrior overview. See you next time, ronarray out.